My name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video, I want to talk to you about the basics of the mark in Emacs. I want to show you how we can operate on portions of text, how we can find our previous position in an Emacs buffer, and how we can store data in compartments that we can access again, either to insert text in a buffer or revisit a given file or location that we have saved persistently. I want to show you a variety of commands. However, this will not be exhaustive, meaning that I will not cover everything that is already documented in the Emacs manual, the best resource for everything related to Emacs. Instead, I want to be comprehensive. I want to cover a lot of ground, provide you with an overview of what is on offer, and thus hopefully give you the impetus to do some research on your own to see what Emacs is capable of and how you can use its capabilities to your advantage. Let's get started with the basics. I want to talk to you about the mark in Emacs. In Emacs, we have the point and the mark as foundational concepts of its editing paradigm. The point is visualized by the cursor. Wherever the cursor is, as you can see over here, is the point. And depending on what you do, there is also the history of where the point was, and this history is known as the mark. There is a mark ring, and the last location of the point is called the mark. You can set the mark with Control Space. This sets the mark and activates the region. And you can see the active region when you move the point, and now you have this highlight, and thus you have selected a portion of text. The portion of text is between the mark, which is where I started when I typed Control Space, and the point, which is where my cursor now is. And of course, when you mark a region like this, you can, for example, kill it, and then you can go somewhere else and yank from the kill ring, and thus insert the contents of it into the buffer at the given point. Let's undo this and let's go back here. I did the activation of the region by setting the mark. You see here, I type Control Space, and I can see in the echo area, it says mark set. And then I moved around, and this activated the region. And then I was able to operate on the region, in the case of the previous example, to kill the region. What I want to do now is I want to do the same, meaning to set the mark without actually activating the highlight. Let's see how this works. I am here at the beginning of the paragraph, and now I will invoke a regular expression aware iSearch command. A few days ago, I did a video where I talked about the basics of search in Emacs. It is a comprehensive video. I encourage you to take a look. Search and replace as well. You can take a look there, so I won't explain what iSearch is. It's something that I assume you already know. What I am doing now with this iSearch is that I will search for something that starts with the end of line character, meaning an empty line, and I will type enter. Notice what happens here. I was at the beginning of the paragraph, and I searched to some other location in the buffer, in this case at the end of the paragraph right below it. And after I concluded my search, after I exited the search, I see in the echo area that Emacs has saved the mark. You see what it says there in the echo area? Mark saved where search started. So I know that Emacs performed the equivalent of Control Space at the previous point. So I know that if I now do Control W, which is to kill the region, it will kill the region within the implicit region over there, okay? Within the boundaries of the mark and the point. And of course, again, I can do what I did earlier in the video, the same idea as before. You may think that this is a gimmick. Why would I want to have this done that way instead of explicitly highlighting it so that I can also visualize it and thus be sure that I am doing the right thing? And you will be right. There are cases where visualizing it is better. You don't want to have the implicit region over there. However, there are cases where this is useful, and I will show you one such case right now. But first, let me do it visually so that you understand exactly what I am doing. I have marked this region, or rather, let me mark it like this. Control space, and then I move down. And what I want to do is invoke the indent rigidly command so that I can move the region right or left and thus indent its contents. I will type Control X, Control I, or Control X tab if that is more helpful for you. Control X, Control I is what I prefer to type. And now, as you can see in the echo area, you can type one of those keys to see what it does. I will let you explore this. For now, I am using the right and left arrow keys to perform indentation of one space at a time in the given direction. And I will type enter, or I should have typed Control G to cancel it when I am done. But let's do it again. Control X, Control I. Let me bring it back like this. And Control G to cancel, and thus leave it over there. Let's see now the same thing without the active region. Again, I will do the I search, and I am going there. Control X, Control I, and I am doing the same thing as before, okay? And Control G to cancel. And let's now bring it back. What I did now is something that is very helpful in the following scenario. Let's mark this portion of text and save it. So I want to paste it in another buffer. Imagine that I am corresponding with someone and I am now writing an email. Now this is not an email buffer, but imagine, of course I have my email inside of Emacs, and I want to say, hey, check this in the manual. And I want to yank from the kill ring, thus inserting its contents here. Notice what I see in the echo area, mark set. So this is great because when I have quoted something here, when I want to quote something, I want to indent it, of course. So what I can do here is I can yank from the kill ring and then go back to mark the whole region and then indent rigidly. But that is cumbersome. I want to do it in one go. So what I can do here is I can call indent rigidly here. Because I know from the documentation of indent rigidly that if you do Control U, so the universal prefix argument, and then indent rigidly, it is automatically shifting by 4 spaces. So I will type Control U, Control X, Control I. And you see how I have now quoted my text just like this, and now continue typing efficiently. Okay, this is the idea. Let's do it again very quickly. So you are here, you want to quote some piece of text. Let's actually quote something larger just to see what I'm saying. You see, if the region is big like this, you will be marking it once, and then if you don't know about this implicit region that I talk about here, you will be marking it again to do the rigid indentation, whereas now you say check this, and you do it just like that, and continue. Much more efficient. So this is very helpful to know about. Let's go back. let's go back and see what else we can do. Sometimes you decide that you want to highlight a region after the fact. So if you are prescient, if you know what you want to do, you can type control space and then mark the region. But sometimes you only remember this after you have already performed the motion. So I am here, and now I will do a search forward for operandi. Let's keep let's try searching for something else. And now I remember, I actually wanted to mark the region from here up to the beginning of the previous paragraph over there. Because the mark is saved, I can now do the following. I can type Control X to exchange the point and the mark. And when you exchange the point and the mark, two things happen. One is the exchange. You will see that my cursor is at the top, so this is the point, and the mark is where the word operandi is. That's the one thing. And the second thing is that it activates the region, so I get to see the highlight. And just like that, I was able to highlight the region after the fact, after I realized that this is what I actually wanted to do. And then you can type Control X again to again exchange the point and the mark. Let's see this now. I start marking a region, and I realize that I forgot to include a sentence over there. If you don't know about the exchange point and mark, what you will do is you will cancel and you will go to the top and then you will do this. But why do that when you can do this and then do Control X, bring that in, Control X again, and go back to what you were doing, just like that. And so again, Control X, and you go back and continue expanding the region in the given direction. And this is very helpful. Another thing that is very helpful is to mark and then to perform a search. For example, I will search for the number 1, and just like that, I am marking again a portion of text. And of course, you can combine the two, so I can search for something and then I can mark for another search just like that, and I can then exchange the mark and I can also do another search just like this. So you get the idea. You can mix and match stuff and then perform on the contents of this region just like that. So this is it for the basics of the mark, but it doesn't end here. When you are marking stuff in Emacs, you are effectively creating a trail, a history of positions, a history of points. And you can revisit that history, you can go back to those points by invoking the command that pops the mark. This is Control U, Control Space by default, but let me first activate the line numbers over here. And now what I want to do is I want to go somewhere further down. I will use the search here. But let me show you this. Let's say that I want to have a mark right here. Or let's have it here at the end. I want to have a mark right here. If you press Control Space once, it sets the mark, but it has activated the region. If you press Control Space again, it deactivates the mark. The mark is set there, but now it's not active. So if you move, the mark is there, but you don't have the region following you around. And I will do the same here on line 96, space, control space rather. So I have set another mark over there. Now I want to go back to the previous mark. Control U, control space will pop the mark. In this case, it went to the one I am currently on. And if I pop again, it goes to the previous one. And if I keep popping, it will go through the marks as I have them. Now they are all clustered together. So this is why it works like this. But imagine you have like a larger file and you do something like that. So you want to go back to what you were doing. Let's see it like this. So I am on line 80 here. Let's actually pop the mark, set the mark here, line 85. Okay, control space twice. And now I will perform a jump to the end of the buffer, like this. Notice that it says mark set. So if I now do control U, control space, I am back to line 85 where I set the mark explicitly. This is fine. However, this is inefficient because, as you can see, you are performing some edit. You will be copying and you will be pasting. Sorry, you will be pasting and this will be setting the mark, and you will be searching and you will be moving around. So the mark will be all over the place. It's not under your control. It's very efficient when you know what you are doing, but it's still not the best way to store locations, points of interest in a buffer. The best way to do that is to store the given entry, the given data, in a special compartment known as the register. And once you store it in a register, you can revisit it explicitly. We will see this right now. I am here, let's say, wherever I want to be. I am here, specifically on line 84, over the word they. And I will now invoke the command to store a position register. Control X R is the prefix key for all register related commands. And a few others, but we won't go there. Control X R and space is the command to store a register. It is not shown right now on the mode line, but it will be after I save the register. So please follow along here. It is telling you point to register, and you have to give it now the character that you want. It's either a single letter or a single number. Basically, something for you to remember and something for you to revisit by invoking that register. So for now, I will use the number 1. And this is what I use frequently, actually, for points in a buffer. Let's now go, let's say I will go to the, I don't know, palette overrides, option for palette overrides. And I want to go over here. This is something that is very important right now. I am doing a review. So I will now do the same thing, Control X, R, and space. And now I want to store again this position to a register. Notice now that because I already have a register, I get a preview of it. And this is register number 1. And now I know that if I want to override this, I can type 1 again and thus override that. But in this case, I will type 2. So now I have 2 position registers. Let me go further down. Let's say I want to go to the acknowledgements over here. And I am here and I will do the same thing. And number 3, I did it quickly. No need to show this again slowly. Let me now go to the top. I am at the top of the buffer, and now I want to revisit the position where I was earlier that I marked as number 2. I will now jump to the given register. Control XRJ, which is the jump to register command. You see, I get a preview over here, and basically what really matters is that I have the line number over there, so I can get a sense of it as well as of the context there. I will now type the number 2, and there I am. Control XRJ and 1, and I go to the first one, and the same key and the number 3, and I go to the third one, just like that. Let me now kill this buffer, okay? So I will kill, it's modified, yes, kill it, just like that. So I killed it, okay? It's not available anymore. It's not available in the list of buffers over here. But I will now go to jump again to the register. 1, 2, 3, you see? These registers are stored at the given position in the given file. The file now is not available in any buffer of Emacs, But if I try to jump to the register, Emacs will tell me, visit the given file again, and I will say yes. And what happens now is that Emacs takes me there and it restores, it recreates the buffer. So it took me to this location and it recreated the buffer. Let's see this again. Number 1, okay, remember, line 84. So I will kill the buffer and I will jump to register number 1. I say yes, and this is taking me to line 84. Granted, org mode is starting in a contracted mode because I have that configuration for this file, but this is beside the point. Don't worry about it. But you can see how I am able to jump to points of interest and also to do it even if I kill the buffer, which is very helpful. Registers are great for jumping around, just as I did now, but they are also great for storing text that you can then insert and not worry about the kill ring. Let's see what the problem is. Let me now do something that is a real world example. So I have all those files over here, the theme files over here, and I want to perform an edit across many of those files. Just a second, let me disable this. This is a package that I am developing. But let's now get into the demo. What I want to do is I want to, let's see. I will go to this, let's keep the directory. No, actually, let's remove the directory. So I am in this file, okay? And let's say that I want to go where the graphs are, for example. I will go here. And I want above the graphs to insert testing like this. And here I will have like red test, and this will be like this, and then I will have a blue test like this, like this, and this will be the text that I want to insert, and I want to insert it over in all those files. But for whatever reason, I also want to kill some text. So I want to kill some text just like that. So if I were, let's see what I want to do. If I were to mark this and copy it with meta W, and then I go and kill some text, let's kill it. So I will do, let's kill it like this. If I kill some text like that, and then I try to yank from the kill ring, it will insert what I killed earlier, whereas what I wanted is to insert the previous thing. So instead of messing around with the kill ring and worrying that if I perform an edit, it will change what I am pasting, what I can do instead is I can mark this portion of text and tell Emacs to store it in a register. Control X R S to store the portion of this text, the portion of this buffer in a register, to store it as a string, as technically a substring of the buffer. And what I normally do, my convention, is to have position registers on numbers and then string registers. Usually it's the letter S, and if I want more, it's capital S, and then if I want some more, it will be some more, depending on what I am doing. But for now, I will do Control X R S and then the letter S. So I copied this text into the register. And let's see it here. So I will delete this. And I will do now Control X R I to insert the register S. And it inserts it just like that. So let's now do this. Now that I have my register over here, let me go here. And I want to record the keyboard macro. This keyboard macro will go to the beginning of the file, and then it will search for graph. And once it finds the graph, it will go one line up, and it will then go to, actually this is a contrived example, but it will go here and kill a few lines just like this. and then it will insert the register, Control X R I and S, and it does that. And it will save the file, okay? And now I am going back here and I will do it just like that. So I was able in all those files, let's see, can we get a div? And you see what I have here in all those files. I was able to perform this change without messing around with the kill ring. And of course, I don't want to keep those around. So let me quickly cancel them, and so that I don't forget to do it later. But I was able to have this persistent datum and to insert it where I want without messing around with the kill ring, and thus not making mistakes while doing the macro, because otherwise you will be pasting stuff that you had no intention to paste, and of course this is erroneous. So there is that. There is more to talk about with registers, but I prefer that you explore the manual for it. I will tell you about something that is like a register, but is designed to, by default, be stored persistently in a separate file. And these are the bookmarks. Bookmarks are just like registers in that they are special compartments of data, and they are just like registers in the sense that you are recreating the buffer when you visit them, even if that buffer no longer exists in Emacs. Let's see how this works. I will go and, or rather, let me jump to an existing bookmark. I am over here. You see where I am in the path. I am here. And now I want to do Control X R B, which is the default key binding to use the mini buffer and thus completion to jump to a given bookmark. And now you see I have 93 bookmarks, so I will now use modus themes HTML. So you see where the path is over there. I type enter and notice that it takes me to this position in this buffer. This is a file that it visited, so it created the buffer. It didn't exist over there before. I will now do just a direct jump, dired jump over here, or direct jump. And you see now where I am over here in my file system path, just like that. And very quickly, I will just do this again, and I will go to ELPA. And you see now I am over here. And again, I will go to, for example, the F themes HTML, and I am here, which is the same page as the modus themes in this case. But this is the idea. Let's now use again the register to jump to a given location, and I will jump to one, and you see how this works. When you want to store a bookmark, you do it with Control X R, the prefix that we already know, and the letter M. Control X R M. And unlike registers, you are not storing it to a character or number. You are giving it a proper name. So I will say this is a test to see how bookmarks can be named. Okay, and I did just that. And so now I have a persistent record of this, which is also stored in the bookmarks file. But let's not visit it now, it doesn't really matter. There is a bookmarks file that is saved in your .emacs directory. And so now if I were to kill this buffer, for example, Control X and RB, and let's say this is a test that I have already, and I have another test over here, just like that, and I am able to go to this location exactly. Control X R and the letter L allows you to list your bookmarks. And in listing your bookmarks, you can now find the this is a test over here, and type the letter D and then X to delete it, the same way you delete stuff in the directory editor of Emacs. I happened to do a video about Dired a few days ago. Again, it is comprehensive. Please check my backlog. Let's kill this. And we are back here. This is the idea, folks. You have lots of ways to move around, lots of ways to manipulate text inside of the region and to retrace your location, store data and restore it, access it again, insert it again, and so on. Let me show you a couple of final points. One is that when you are, one thing that I forgot is about the transposition of words. You see that I am on this word, and I will now highlight this region like this. And we have operandi and vivendi between the point and the mark, okay? This works with the mark, but now I will do it without it. But imagine this works with the mark. So I am on operandi and I will search for vivendi, just like this, and I will type enter. The mark has been set. And now what I will do it with Emacs so that you see. I will type Control 0. And now Emacs for transpose, transpose words, okay? And when you type Control 0 and the transpose command, it will take the word at point and so the word at point and the word at the mark and transpose them. So put the one in the stead of the other. And I do it like this, and you see what happened over there. This works for other transpose commands, but I am just showing you one, and then you can check the rest yourself. Suffice to say, it is very powerful. And this is the idea, folks, with what we can do with the mark, what we can do with registers, what we can do with bookmarks. Let me then close with some configuration that you can use. And let's have this. Again, you see what I did? Control X to mark this area by exchanging the point and the mark. It is very, very handy, and you will be using it without even realizing it. Let me then go in this other window, prot Emacs, I forget where I have it, in the completion. And I want to go to, I don't have it. Save hist is not here. Here it is, yes. So let me show you what we have here. The save hist mode is the built-in mode. This is built into Emacs. This is built into Emacs. And this mode by default will keep a record of your mini buffer histories. And this is very helpful because, for example, when you type MX, it will show towards the top your most recent entries. And the same for all the mini buffer prompts that you are using. However, we can use save hist to store additional variables, as you can see over here. And in my case, on my end, the setup that I use is to store two additional variables. One of them is the kill ring, meaning the recent entries in the kill ring, and the other is the register A list. So if I close and restart Emacs, those variables will be restored, and so I will have my registers back available again, and the same for the kill ring. This is one thing. And then the other thing is in the essentials, where I have the bookmarking, and this is something that I believe is very useful to have. At least for me, this was very useful, is to instruct Emacs to automatically save bookmarks as soon as you set them. Whereas by default, it will save the bookmarks to the bookmark file once you close Emacs. But for me, it has happened because sometimes I get power outages where I am storing a bookmark, there is a power failure, and then I lose the bookmark. Whereas I want, as soon as I store it, I want Emacs to do the right thing, which is to write the changes to the file. And so I will suggest that you try this at the very least. I will include these configurations on my website below the video. So I will embed the video, there will be a publication, embed the video, and below will be those configurations, the minimal setup that you can have for those things. And then, of course, you can check the manual of Emacs and learn more about these and many other interesting features. If you are watching this on the video hosting platform, there will be a link to my website in the description. So make sure to check it out. That's all for today, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care. Goodbye.